everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tanisha Camillo Sheffy, founder and director of Made Incubator, revolutionizing the way designers learn, build, and succeed in fashion. And we want to thank our sponsor, A Maven's World, and also New York Life for being a corporate vendor of this series. We are so excited to have you, and our industry experts are really ready to mobilize your business. So ask the questions, don't be shy, and follow us on Instagram at Made Incubator. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tanisha and I are so excited. This is part 2 of the Entrepreneurship Empowerment Series. And this event is during Black Business Month, and we are here to connect, inspire, and mobilize businesses to get the resources that they need to scale. This virtual series is presented by Made Incubator, revolutionizing the way designers learn, build, and succeed in fashion. Today's event is also sponsored by A Maven's World lifestyle brand, building brands, empowering entrepreneurs, and making mavens. And I'm Raina. I am your hostess today. I'm an attorney by trade, but I love all things creativity, all things fashion, and especially our topic today is social media and marketing. So I'm super duper excited to introduce you to Miss Michelle Mastrobattista, who is the founder of Brand Paradise, which is a Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Which is a boutique creative and public relations agency based in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Michelle is a veteran marketing strategist who has worked in both agency and in-house roles on behalf of public and private businesses, as well as mission-driven organizations. She brings a strong creative sense and a clear communication style and voice when counseling clients on how to build integrated strategic programs that effectively leverage their budgets across all platforms. Welcome again, Michelle. We are so happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Raina and Tanisha.
Yes, and please tell us about yourself. How did you get started with social media and marketing?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, it wasn't a straight path. It was kind of like, all these twists and turns.
Yes.
And I will say that I'm a recovering 2-time entrepreneur myself, and I'm on my third business, which is my current agency. So I kind of know the struggles of starting a business, but when I got started in marketing and communications, I really didn't even know that was a job, or that was, media and marketing was a thing. There was someone who came to my high school to talk about it, and then I was like, wow, this is a whole field. So I got interested in that, and I went to Emerson College in Boston for entertainment marketing and media management. And I thought, I'm going to go out to Los Angeles and, probably take over a studio, and just like run a movie business. And it would be easy, right? Like no big deal.
I love that. I love that you just, you just went for it. You took the risk.
Yeah, I might have been like, a little naive, but I moved out to LA and cut my teeth in the talent agency world. And then I worked at Endeavor and ICM. So I was really in entertainment early on in my career. And I was interested in working with brands, who represents brands, putting them into movies and TV shows. I did a little bit of product placement out there. So working with brands like Volkswagen and Fiji Water and, going around putting them into movie and TV opportunities, which was really fun. And then family stuff brought me back east eventually, right around the time digital and social media was starting to take off from a business standpoint. I worked for Telemundo in Boston in ad sales, and we were selling banner ads and like digital ads for all of our TV clients, when a lot of our TV clients didn't even have a website yet. So it was still pretty early on. Wow. We had banner ads that didn't click through to anything. It was just here's a banner ad.
This was before advertising was like hearing my thoughts, right? So if I said Christian Louboutin and it just popped on, it was telling me to buy it.
Early on when like, banner ads were brand new. And I just kind of, I was like, I really like digital marketing because it's transparent. I have all these metrics. I can see, exactly who saw my advertisement versus with TV, people get up and walk out of the room and, fast forward and you don't really know for sure if you're reaching your audience. So I sort of gravitated towards that. And then I worked as a social media manager at a digital agency where we started with a couple social media clients and we grew to about 200 social media clients. And I had a team of 10 social media managers, and we were just basically like cranking out social media content calendars all day.
Wow.
Which was intense, and it was great, but it didn't feel like we could be really creative or really thoughtful for clients. And then I went to a PR firm where I built out their digital and creative practice with a much more selective group of clients across all types of businesses. So, B2B and B2C, keeps it interesting, doing all different things. And I was there for about 8 years. And then during the pandemic, I came to Puerto Rico for 2 weeks. I came on vacation my friend jokes with me. She's like, remember that time we went on vacation for 2 weeks and you never came back? And
I love that for you.
That's basically what happened. I started to I fell in love with the island and everything. And I started Brand Paradise. I fully, went for it with my own marketing agency and officially launched it in January. And now we've got about, a good cohort of clients we're working with, about 15 different clients across all different industries. But we do have some fashion in there. So I was just at Miami Swim Week with one of my clients, which was really fun. But it's been great. It's been a good change.
Wow, Michelle, that is quite the impressive resume there. You have definitely seen it all. You've worked through the trenches.
Yes.
And I hope you are very proud of yourself, because I certainly am, just hearing from the range of the brands that you've worked with, and then being able to just go out on your own shingle and just going for it. And not only that, you're on a whole island, sis. You're on a whole island, sis. And that is a true testament to who you are, and just amazing. That's awesome. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And what would you say, how important is consistency in social media and marketing?
I mean, consistency is everything. I feel like consistency is really the key. A lot of times we get shiny object syndrome when it comes to, social media is changing every day. And I always tell clients, like, if somebody tells you they're a guru or a ninja or like social media expert, they're lying to you. Like, that's not a thing. There's nobody out there, including myself, that knows everything about social media. Like, as we're having this conversation, I'm sure somebody on Instagram's development team is like changing everything as we know it. So it changes all the time. And it's tempting to get caught up in that and to want to pivot your strategy every time something changes. I have clients that are like, oh, we need to be on TikTok now. We need to do this. We need to do that. And it just you always want to go back to, what are your business goals? What resources do you have? It doesn't make sense to try to do everything, because you can't do everything well, but pick a couple of channels where your audience is and do them with consistency, do them really well. And that's it.
That's awesome. That is such great advice. And how do you feel startups should market themselves and stay attractive in such a competitive market? What would you say is the best tips?
I mean, I think for me, I did a little detour and I had an eyelash salon in Boston. Tanisha knows this. Like, I was working at my old agency. I opened a lash salon and we had a lash brand too.
Wow.
And it was right around the time when there were a lot of eyelash studios opening up, and that was kind of a trend. So, one thing is that it's tempting to want to like copy what everyone else is doing, or, always like you get obsessed with looking at your competitors. Like, well, what are they offering? Well, what's their pricing? What are they doing? And that can, I think, hurt you. So sometimes it's better to just like ignore your competition altogether and just do you. Like, do what you're good at and try to do things differently. Like,
Certainly.
every day you should be thinking, how can I do this differently?
And that authenticity is what attracts people to your brand, right?
Exactly. It's about shaking things up, because even in marketing, what worked last week isn't going to work next week. So you have to be one step ahead, and you have to be thinking about, what can I do that's new? What can I do that's different? So, it's always looking for ideas and inspiration. And even if my current agency, I'm always trying to think about, what can we do that other agencies aren't doing? How can we shake up the agency business? How can we, is there a new product? Is there a new model? Is there something for clients that is new? So I think, the key is to always be differentiating yourself and not really trying to copy your competitors or worry about your competitors, but be different.
I love that. Yes, toast to being different. I love that. And I want to touch on a little bit of what you talked about before. You were kind of elaborating on how people have shiny ball syndrome and can really try to be on all of the applications, all the social media channels. What do you think is best when running a business? Do you think that they should go for all of them? You mentioned focus on one or two that you can do well. What do you think are the most popular channels for businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends what type of business you have. I know most of our folks watching are probably in the fashion and apparel world. And, for those types of businesses, I would say Instagram for sure. Instagram is still the place that is, the most visual. That's where people are doing a ton of shopping without ever leaving Instagram. So I think in the fashion world, that's sort of the place. But most of us as small businesses, like, we don't have a 50-person marketing team that has all kinds of specialists who can be, this one's creating video, this one's doing paid search ads, this one's, when you don't have a full team of people, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. And you have like one or two internal people who help with your social media or help with your marketing and PR. So I think it's just wise to look at your resources and your budget and figure out, like, where is this best spent? If I can only put my effort into one channel, then, do Instagram, and do Instagram really well, rather than trying to like do Instagram, send out tweets, make YouTube videos, do email marketing.
Right.
It's just too much, and you spread yourself too thin, and you're kind of better off to start with one channel, really get into a groove, refine your content for that channel, do it really well, and make it the best it can possibly be. And as you grow and you have, maybe more help or more budget, then you can layer in other things. Like, okay, Instagram is on autopilot. We're really in a groove with that. Now maybe we fold in some email marketing or text marketing or PR or whatever the other tactic might be.
That's awesome. And it's amazing how creative. I'm a one-woman team, by the way. So it's amazing how creative you can be with just a Nikon camera, an iPhone, maybe a makeup light, and your kitchen table.
Yeah. And people are used to that now. I think we don't need to see professional, you don't need to make a Super Bowl ad for your content. Like,
right.
You have to have an iPhone, or, with your phone, you can make vertical video. And I think people appreciate stuff that's more raw and not so highly polished. Like, now there's kind of been a backlash to this, like, the perfect polished Instagram influencer kind of thing. Right. And there's even social channels like Be Real that popped up that kind of, they strip away all the editing and all the, the lighting and the full quality production, and, go back to something more raw and organic and authentic. And I think people want to see that.
That's so interesting. I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday, and she mentioned how she really focuses on her stories and how important it is to just be yourself, be your own content, and people will attract to that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I even struggle myself with, like, all of us as business owners find it hard to make time to be on camera, and you kind of have to decide if you're going to be the face of your business, or if you're going to have someone else be the face of your business, if you're going to be a faceless business. But it's hard to put yourself out there. And a lot of times I wouldn't make reels or wouldn't make content because I was thinking, like, oh, I have to get dressed up, I have to have a full face of makeup, I need to be, like, prepared to do reels.
Right.
And then I realized, you really don't, just make a reel, just do it, the way you look right now, and what's, authentic, and being yourself. And,
Yes.
To the former point, I think people want to see that you're real and that you're not always, like, filtered and made up, and, just go for it.
Absolutely. I love that. And also, give us the scoop, sis. Give us the scoop. What are some of the common times to post? Like, when's the best time? Is it noontime? Is it 6 o'clock when people are getting out of work? What do you feel is the best posting time? When is the most engagement for followers?
I think there's a really wide range, and it depends on your followers. But in general, it's like, it almost kind of goes back to, like, old school TV times, when you think about, like, there was prime time was, everybody's home, they're relaxed, they're watching TV. I still think that's a good time for posting on Instagram, like, that sort of, like, 7 to 9 sweet spot evening, where you've had dinner, you might be watching TV, you're scrolling through your phone. Like, that's still, kind of prime time for social too. And then during the week, just in general, Monday through Friday, from, like, during business hours, always tends to be better. Like the 9 to 5, everybody's scrolling while they're working, and we have tabs open while we're doing other things.
It's a world of distractions.
Definitely. So I think, like, business hours generally are just, you get more traffic. If you're doing email marketing, and even with social too, we tend to see a drop off, like, Friday after noontime. You're just not going to get as great of engagement as you would, Monday to Thursday.
That's awesome. And what do you feel, what are some of the most common post ideas that you are seeing in the social media world right now?
Post ideas. I think it depends, again, on, like, what your brand is, but right now the push is towards video. Instagram, a lot of, you saw, like, the Kardashians have been calling out Instagram for not, being Instagram anymore, and they're pushing everyone towards video and trying to compete with TikTok. It's like the TikTokification of Instagram.
Yes, the head of Instagram actually posted a video and talked about the attention spans and how video it keeps us on social media longer. That's such an interesting concept. I never thought how a company would want us to be so plugged in and locked in so much. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and it's true. Definitely, if you think about it, when you were scrolling through your Instagram feed and you saw a picture, maybe you spent a half a second looking at that picture, but, you're going to spend 15 seconds or 30 seconds maybe watching a video, which is a huge difference from looking at an image.
Right.
But on the other side of that, it takes more time to create a video, and there's less creators making videos because it's harder to do. You have to either know how to edit or be kind of handy with editing and putting them together, or, you have to, like, research and find a trend you want to jump on. And it's just not as simple as, like, point and click taking a picture.
Right.
So that's why Instagram was sort of gaming the algorithm early on. they're even now they're still sort of pushing reels. So when you create your first reel, you'll get like 10,000 views and you're like, wow, oh my God, I have all these views. I must be really great. And, it's because they're sort of pushing them towards you because it gives you that like reward feeling or like the dopamine in your brain of like, oh, I got this huge reward from doing this. I'm going to keep doing it. So they have to, in order to keep people on the platform longer, they need people to create more video content. So they have to make it as easy as possible for us to create more video content. You might have seen recently when you're scrolling through stories, you get like an ad or a pop-up that says like, do you want to turn your stories into a reel? And it'll show you, stories that you took a few months ago. And it's like, literally they're putting the reel together for you and trying to make it easy. Like, hey,
right. I did see that. Oh, use your highlights to create these reels. Wow. They're pulling us in more and more. And social media is such a powerful tool. And I just remember, how the basics was guerrilla marketing or even just word of mouth. And social media is really incorporated all of those things just on the World Wide Web. What would you say in all of your experience, what was the most exciting part for you in that shift? Seeing it from becoming like a personal face-to-face sort of marketing strategy to now being able to reach so many people worldwide.
And it's funny because now we're kind of going full circle. Like we've come back to that where marketers are now saying like, hey, if you really want to stand out, you should send direct mail, and people are like, what? But it's like, yeah, there's such a fire hose of social, brands on social and digital marketing and email that doing something different is like sending a old school mailer or like taking an ad out in print or a billboard or things that, were like the old school advertising are new again.
Wow. And is it because people are more home now? What is the reason for that?
I think it's because there's less competition for those types of media where, before it was like so oversaturated and like you got all this junk mail and you kind of like threw it out. And now we're kind of like happy to get a really targeted, good piece of mail.
I know businesses who still handwrite postcards, which I think is so nice.
It's definitely not. And it's to our earlier point, thinking about being different. If all your competitors are focused on Instagram ads, then maybe, send a nice handwritten postcard and you're going to stand out.
That is awesome. We are all for standing out. We have a question here, and someone asked, what's more important for businesses to have today, email lists or a strong social media presence? I know we kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the first step is having a strategy for your business.
Right.
And that's a mistake that I see a lot of startups and small businesses kind of like trying to jump into social or jump into email, without a plan or knowing why they're doing those things. Because everyone's business goals are different and everyone's audience is a little bit different. So, putting pen to paper when you first start, though it seems like, there's that urge to want to just like jump in and start running some ads. It's always a worthwhile exercise to put a plan together, even if it's just, a brief strategy. The things that I usually include in a strategy are, what are your business goals and objectives? Like what is, at the end of the day, what would successful marketing do for your business? And there might be multiple answers to that. Like, we want to get more fame and awareness. We want more people to know about us, or we want more interactions with our customers. We want more conversations, or we want to drive sales, or maybe it's all of those things.
Right. And sometimes they could change depending on the quarter or whatever, like you said, whatever the business goal is at that time.
Yeah, they can totally change. And, before you kind of can't just jump to getting more sales. You have to get more people who are aware of your product, aware of your business before it leads to, them being invested enough to make a purchase. So, once you have the goals, and then you define like, who is my target customer, who are they as a person? Where do they shop? What are their interests? It's kind of like a fun exercise to build out audience personas and go through if I had to, create a made up customer who represents my customers, like, where do they get their information? Are they somebody who, loves a daily email newsletter? Are they somebody who's like scrolling through TikTok endlessly? Are they, older and they still love to hold a print piece? So it's good to have an idea of who the audience is. And once you have the goals in the audience, then you figure out what channels make the most sense. So
that's awesome.
You kind of have to reverse engineer it. And it might be, email might make sense for your audience, or it might not. And again, it goes to like, how much resources and time do you have? If you have enough people and budget to do both social media and email, then that's great. If not, you have to figure out, if your audience is spending more time on social, then certainly focus on that.
Yes, absolutely. And how do you create a brand voice and a brand identity from that strategy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because a brand is, a lot of people think just creating a logo, it makes your brand, and it doesn't. A logo is just a logo, or it's just brand identity. You know this through your trademark experience and work. But a brand is really like the feeling that your company evokes or that your product evokes. So you kind of can't tell people what your brand is. They have to tell you what your brand is.
Wow.
How to make them feel.
That's powerful. And what sort of tools do you use? I mean, social media definitely does help with that. But are there specific tools that are used to really gauge, how people are feeling about your brand?
Yeah, like you said, social is, great for listening. We start every marketing strategy with like a deep dive into, let's look at your analytics. Let's look at your website traffic. How are people getting to your website? What pages are they going to? What information are they looking for? Are they staying on? Are they bouncing off? Same with social. What are they engaging with? What are they not engaging with? You kind of like, once you launch your website and social, that's just the beginning, and you have to always be testing, and you have to always be looking at what's working and what's not. We do a brand questionnaire with clients that we ask them a lot of questions just about their personality to try and get to like the essence of the brand. What are their interests? What are they, strong likes, dislikes? And we have a whole list of like really interesting and some fun questions that we'll send to clients, and they fill it out, and it comes back to us, and it gives us kind of a better idea of their personality. So they're like, I really hate, I don't know, I really hate, pastel Instagram posts, then okay, we're not going to do anything pastel for you. So it's good to know like the client's taste before we.
That's amazing. And it's so interesting how you and your team would juggle all of the different sort of antics each client brings, and really honing in on those interests can sometimes be a challenge. Or have you ever had any experience where maybe you've had a disagreement about where, the strategy should go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what people hire us for.
Right.
They don't hire us to agree with everything they want to do. And that's certainly not the types of clients we want. We want to be pushing ourselves, pushing our clients, always challenging what we're doing and looking at things critically. So I'd say we disagree often on things, but it's how you present it to a client. Just present as an attorney, presenting the way you present your argument is everything. So,
Yes.
we try to do it in a way where we're educating the client about why we might be thinking about a certain tactic that way and try to lead them to that decision. But I have an example of a client that, when we started out, I said, I think we should start with a strategy. It's a good place to start. That's your roadmap. It can change, but we have to have something on paper that guides us going forward. And they were like, we don't really want to spend time on that. That's like a whole exercise. Like, we need to get butts in seats right now.
Mhm.
Like, we want to do these Facebook ads. This other gentleman approached us and he says he can get us 100 leads with Facebook ads if we do them, this way, starting right away. And, we said, well, where are the Facebook ads leading? What's the goal of the ads? What are we trying to do? The website wasn't yet really optimized for receiving those leads or those ads. So we weren't there yet, but, the client sort of pushed and pushed on, we need to do these ads. So we said, okay, all right, let's do the ads. And we took, the exact copy that this other firm pitched and the exact, what they wanted to run with. And we put it out there and we got 0 appointments from the ads. We got a lot of views, got a lot of clicks, but nothing that turned into a customer.
Hmm.
And after running those for a couple months, the client started to say, like, okay, well, maybe you're right. We do need to make our website, make some tweaks to our website so that it's ready to convert people. And we eventually came full circle to like, you were right. We need a strategy.
Don't you love that? Sometimes you got to put the ball in the client's court just to get them to really kind of refocus a little bit and see the value of your company, see the value of what you bring to the table and why you are hired to do what you do. So that is an awesome tennis match right there, Michelle.
I don't want to just take your money and waste your time, but it's a valuable exercise to do this work up front. So you have a plan.
Absolutely. A plan is always important. And also, what do you think, what are some tips that you can give regarding advertising to media outlets, or even working with brand ambassadors or sponsors? Like how do we get the attention of these big name people or these big brands or even executives from whoever that we want to, as a fashion person, how do I find LVMH? Like, how do I get them to see what I'm doing?
Yeah, and that is that's a big question. I think that a lot of times we think, I'm going to launch. We believe in our business and our products. That's why we started it. But it takes time to really build a brand. So you can't sort of just launch and think, okay, I'm going to send out this email or I'm going to send out this press release and we're going to be in vogue. LVMH is going to call me, it's just not like me when I thought I was going to move to Hollywood and take over a studio. It just doesn't work that way. It takes time of putting in a lot of grinding it out and putting in the work and the consistency of doing it. You've got to put something out there every month so that people keep seeing you and they keep saying, oh, there's that company again. Oh, look who they're working with. Oh, they have this influencer. Oh, they're doing this event. Oh, they have this new product. You have to find a reason to reach out and touch your audience constantly. So
yeah, it's back to that consistency, right? So consistency is key. And what do you think about hashtags? I personally hashtag everything on stories. I hashtag on comments. What do you think of that? And if you hate it, maybe I just kind of put myself out there a little bit. What do you think about it?
I love a hashtag. I love a hashtag. There's more opportunity for hashtags on Instagram. You can kind of go crazy with hashtags. But you want to make sure that the purpose of hashtags is for discoverability.
Right.
So people might be searching for a certain topic or searching for a certain type of product. So you want to make sure that your hashtag matches the actual keywords somebody would type in to look for something. A lot of times I see hashtags that are just like, they're made up, or they're, a very specific brand name, or, they're a certain phrase that is going to have like very low search volume. Like people aren't going to think to type that in. And you can use, there's some different tools. Like there's, let me look up the app. There's a hashtag app that you can use for research. I think it's called Hashtag Expert.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you can see my phone, it has a little hashtag.
I
icon.
see it. Yes.
So that's the app that is really helpful for researching hashtags. So you can even take like, I don't know, body positivity, and it'll give you 50 other suggested hashtags for that you can possibly use. So
that is so cool. And discoverability is so important in social media. Essentially, our media channels, our marketing channels have become like our own personal Google forms. When we need to find something or find information, we go to Instagram, we learn something from TikTok, and it's become part of our natural language.
Yeah, that also brings up a good point when thinking about your marketing strategy.
Right.
Is each channel has a slightly different intent. So when I'm on Instagram or I'm on Facebook, I'm kind of like passively scrolling through my feed. Let's say, maybe I'm in the market for a dress to wear to a party, or, I'm looking for a little black dress, but when I'm scrolling and watching TV, I might not be looking for that at that moment. So your audience is like a little bit more passive. You don't know if they're actively looking for something. Maybe you hit the person who's like, oh yeah, I needed a black dress, and they put it in their cart and they check out. But Google is where people go with a certain intent. Like if I go to Google and I search little black dresses, then I'm going to get a whole bunch of shopping options. My intent is different because in that moment, I'm looking for a specific product, where on Instagram, I'm just sort of like passively looking at what's, cool. So you have to think about that as well. Is that when you're advertising on social media or you're creating content on social media, it's really more for awareness and for branding, and you want to grab someone's attention, and ideally they add it to their cart and check out, but maybe they save it for later, or they save it as inspiration, and they might go back and search through their saved stuff later, or search through Instagram, or they might go to Google and search for your brand. So those people, when they're actually searching, are closer to making a purchase.
That's awesome. And I think you said a great thing about grabbing the attention of your audience. So your messaging needs to be very captivating, right? Like you want to say something on your brand channels that sticks for your audience. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. You have like, I don't know what it is now, like under 5 seconds to capture someone's attention. It gets less every year. Like when I started,
our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, we have like the attention span of like a gnat or something, but like a goldfish is 0.2 seconds, and ours are less than that.
Yes.
So
certainly.
So it either has to like visually grab you and pop, or be something that gets your attention, or the copy asks a question that is provoking you to think about something. So whatever it is, you want to like get right into it.
Yes, certainly. And if anybody else who is watching has any questions that you'd like to ask Michelle, please drop them in the chat. We'd love to get your questions. And I can certainly facilitate that for everybody. And Michelle, how important do you think it is to work with influencers or brand ambassadors?
Now, I think, so it's funny, Amazon recently they took over a hotel or a resort in Mexico, and they turned it into, like, they rebranded it as an Amazon hotel, and
Wow.
they sent all these influencers there. And, a decade ago, a fashion company, this was for their fashion line, I should say.
Hmm.
So it was to get influencers to come and obviously, like, wear their styles and take pictures and all of that stuff. But a decade ago, a fashion brand would have done the same thing for publicists and for, journalists. Like, you would have invited all the fashion bloggers, and now the influencers have, like, surpassed the fashion bloggers because they get more views, they get more reach, like, even compared to some of the biggest fashion magazines out there, you're going to get more exposure through certain influencers. So it's very, very important. You don't always have to, there's different levels of influencers. There's, mega influencers who have 1 million plus followers that are probably going to be very expensive to work with. I had a fashion client that was like, we need to get Taylor Swift. And I was like, there's a lot of reasons, that's not going to happen, because Taylor Swift is already hired by LVMH and all these other brands. Like, Taylor Swift is probably not going to, wear your thing for free. So you have to, like, have realistic expectations about it. But getting, 20 or 30 influencers that maybe, micro influencers like us who have a couple thousand followers, but they're all people who know us and are really invested in what we're wearing, what we're doing, that can be even better than having one mega Taylor Swift influencer.
Yes, I certainly agree with that. And what is your opinion about niche influencing as far as your brand strategy on social media? Should we have a niche? Should we not have a niche? There's this whole debate about that.
In what way? Like,
for example, a lot of us are multifaceted these days. Some people are fitness gurus, some people are designers. But what if you're a fitness guru and a designer? And, should we have more than one social media channel? Should we just have one social media channel that does everything? What do you think is the best way to go about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if you have, like, two different businesses that are separate, then maybe they should be separate, like, if they're not related to each other, because you don't want to confuse people, and you don't want to dilute your brand, and you don't want to confuse people about what you do. They're like, but I thought she was a real estate agent, but now she's selling, skincare, but now she's doing this and now she's doing that. Like, it can kind of just look all over the place. So it's good to, like, some advice I got early in my career from there was a marketing executive that I had interned for. And he said, I have a piece of advice for you. Like, don't take this the wrong way. On your Twitter, you talk about, like, social media a lot, but you're also talking about all this personal stuff. And, it was like pictures of what I did on the weekend and my friends and, partying or whatever, because I was young. And said,
having fun. You're free.
It was like my political rants or whatever it was. And it was like, what, just hone in on social media, and all the content you put out should be about social media, because that's what you're an expert in and that's what you do. Like, you should position yourself as the expert in this. That doesn't mean you can't have an and it's good to have an and, like, the extra thing that you do that you're interested in that makes you stand out, right? Like, if you're a designer and you share a lot of your art and your creations, like, you're competing with thousands of other designers out there. So what can you do to set yourself apart? Like, oh, that's the designer that also has, really loves dogs, or is also really into hiking, or, it's good to have, like, something else you do that kind of is more personal, so that people can connect with you, and it helps them remember you. Like, oh, that's the social media expert who lives in Puerto Rico and always makes content about Puerto Rico. So I think, think about what your and could be, But as far as like, you don't want to promote too many separate businesses together because that can get confusing for people.
That's great. That's really great advice. I find myself having a really difficult time either doing one or the other personally. Sometimes I'm like, I have too many social media channels to run. And other times I'm like, I really need to streamline this process a little bit more. So I'm sure that it's helpful to someone out there who really needed that answer.
Yeah. I'm still struggling with myself. So like, I'm always trying to think about like, okay, getting your content right is really hard. And if anyone has any ideas, like I'm always like, what could my and be? Like, what is the thing? Like obviously I have a marketing agency and that's what I do, but it's not who I am. So, how do you blend who you are with what you do to make yourself stand out?
That's awesome. And what would you say? What's some good advice that you can give to our entrepreneurs on starting and building their own brand?
On starting and building your own brand, I think definitely consistency. Don't try to be different. If you're, like technically building the brand, do some brainstorming. Before, even thinking about agency names, I walked around with like a note in my phone of like anytime I saw something or like a word I liked or something, some inspiration, go out and be inspired when you're, go look at art or walk around the streets or, go shopping and things will sort of, you see signs, you see inspiration everywhere, take notes, put little notes in your phone about things that you like. And then, you can start to build a list of, either names or inspiration for logos and kind of whittle it down from there, test things with your friends and family, see what they like. Because you just never know when inspiration is going to strike. And
Yes,
then
sure.
I think, you definitely have to have brand guidelines. So once you have, your name and brand identity, make sure you trademark it. Very important.
Ding, ding, ding.
You want to make sure that you own that, and it would really like be a bummer to pick a name and you go, 6 months, a year down the line with this brand, and you've put all this brand equity into it. Actually, I did this myself. Like this was the Lash brand. I called it, originally it was called Wink Lash Bar, WINQ.
Oh.
And, went fully down the road of like everything, built out the social channels, the website, we had a whole bunch of followers and everyone knew it as Wink Lash Bar. When I went to trademark it, I found out that it didn't meet the trademark specifications because there was already a WINK Wink Lash Bar. And I didn't know that even if it sounds alike, it doesn't have to be spelled the same, but if it even sounds the same way, you can't trademark it. So it was kind of like, wow, I'm finding this out, 6 months, a year in, and now you have to go back to the drawing board and like come up with a new name. So
it can be devastating, but it's also a healthy lesson about pivoting your brand. Either way you look at it, it makes you stronger.
It does, but it's good to talk to someone like Raina early on before you go too far down the rabbit hole of like, I've had clients too that like they have 11 locations and they have, signage everywhere, and it's very expensive to change it later when you've created all this stuff. So
yes. That is absolutely true. I think that's great advice. Certainly consistency is key. I think these are some takeaways that we've gotten. You can find your inspiration everywhere. I really love a good story. I love a good brand story, and you can certainly hone in from your own personal experiences, when you're creating something. It could come, if I have a cooking show, it could be because, my mom and I grew up cooking together. And maybe there are other mothers and daughters and sons and children and families that love to cook together that will gravitate towards that show. So I love a good brand story.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I have a recent client. It's a husband and wife team, and the husband is a pilot for JetBlue, and the wife was a stay-at-home mom. And she had said she bought this very expensive cutting board from Williams Sonoma or whatever it was. It was an investment, but she really wanted this nice cutting board. And then, she said, well, I don't know how to take care of this. And there really are no products that exist to like protect your wood cutting board with something that, what do you put on it that's safe to eat off of? You don't want to use chemicals and a whole bunch of other wood treatment products. So, he was like, I have an idea. And they did some research and they got in the kitchen and they like mixed up this really natural product for taking care of wood cutting boards.
Wow.
And they just started it like with their family and friends, and it sort of like blew up. And now they have so many sales that, they had to like get new distribution, and,
Wow.
they're like maybe going to be on Shark Tank, and like, it's a whole, but the story is great. It's, it's like, they just had an idea. They started, making it in their kitchen, and it turned into this kind of success. So you never know.
That's amazing. It always starts with the mustard seed, I tell you. And when you water it, it certainly grows. Now is a wonderful time for questions. If you have any, I'm also going through the comments here. We have some great hails from Miss Medina here, who says, hi, this is such great advice. Thank you so much, Altagracia, for that. Michelle has been so wonderful with, I'm throwing her some questions here that I don't think she's prepared for. And she's just been so helpful and being transparent and authentic with us today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to hop in the chat wherever you are, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the social media channels. We'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep probing. Michelle, we can do this all day. And a few other takeaways that she said today is to protect your brand and have a really great strategy for your brand. I think before you can go down the road of creating what your social media at name is, and I think people start there first a lot, like you said, and definitely start with the logo. That logo might change 2, 3, 4, 5 times after the inspiration starts running, right? And she said such a great point about just keeping a little notepad. I don't think that we have to be in a rush when creating our brand strategy. We can truly take our time to create something that is captivating and meaningful for us as well. And I think that creatives do such a wonderful job in keeping businesses lucrative. And I think that now in this market, in this era, there's true value in creativity. Otherwise, some business-minded people just can't wrap their heads around the difference. So shout out to you, Michelle, and everyone else who is driving sales through creative voices.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's hard to be a business owner and do marketing. Marketing is its own full-time job. And a lot of I've even had people say to me, like, you have to let go of some stuff, or, like, I know you like doing the social media and you like, doing the design, but you have to let go of it and let somebody else do it. Because if you want to grow your business, you can't grow it while you're focused on making social media posts every day and sending out emails and designing flyers, and, give that to, outsource that to somebody else who can do it, so you can go focus on getting new customers and growing the business.
Absolutely. Your time is absolutely valuable. We have Toya Glenn here from Facebook saying you have to let go to grow. That is so true. That is so true.
Let it go.
Yes. A little frozen for our audience. It's never going to get out of my head. So clearly their marketing team knew what they were doing. Well, Michelle, we are so grateful for your advice today. If you didn't tune in, I hope you watched this recording because the gems were certainly dropping for your business and to scale your business through social media and marketing. Michelle is that girl. And she just started Brand Paradise, launched in January. That is amazing. So if you're in the market, I would certainly reach out to Miss Michelle here and her brand and her team so she can really get your business up and running in the way that it's supposed to. We heard some really great takeaways today, and we're so grateful for our amazing guest speaker, Michelle Mastrobattista, for joining us. If it's okay with you, what are your preferences for attendees today to reach out to you via email, LinkedIn? What's the best?
Yeah, any of the above. I'm on all the channels, email, LinkedIn, slide into the DMs, whatever, whatever works for you. I, try to answer all my messages, and yeah, happy to help.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. We want to thank our sponsor, A Maven's World, for your continued support and your commitment to our community and the business community in general. So be sure to join us every Saturday. We are here every Saturday this month for such an exciting conversation, for wonderful contacts like Michelle, and great resources like the ones we've heard today. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a wonderful Saturday. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Raina.